So that's really straddling the Atlantic. Question. Did anybody else, there has to have been someone other than other than me, who noticed this at the time of Earth Day 1970. I read my first biography of Lenin and my first book on the history of the second revolution of Russia in 1917, to wit, the Bolshevik Revolution, when I was 9.5 to 10. Now, Lenin's birthday, amongst the first two or three things he did, the first thing was to legalize abortion on command. I think the second thing was to immediately adopt the Gregorian adjustment of the Julian calendar, which in a 400-year period dropped 3 leap years. For example, all Catholic countries accepted the idea of dropping 11 days, consistent with the recommendations of mathematicians, many of whom were from the Society of Jesus, and put into effect at midnight, ending the day, October 4th, 1582. The next day, well, it being a calendar, you advance the day, then you drop 10. So the next day was October 15th. Well, England did not adopt that, and the British Empire, until September of 1752. Eventually, all of the European countries and most countries around the world had adopted it, except for one major country, and that's Russia. So they dropped 13 days and brought, so the October Revolution is celebrated on November 7th.
Okay, I got to interrupt you for 1 second. Do you have a question for Mr. McCain?
I do.
Okay.
Has anybody, I bring up these things as sort of laying the groundwork. Has anyone noticed that when the first Earth Day was proposed, I saw it immediately as an 18-year-old at a university near Boston. The first Earth Day was the centenary, according to the new calendar, of the birth of Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, otherwise known as Nikolai Lenin. And as an 18-year-old, I thought, oh, they're trying to get us ready so that since it's celebrated already in other communist countries, when they take over here, people will be accustomed to Earth Day, celebrating it the 20th of April. Have you ever heard of anybody else? There must be others.
Yeah, Lenin's birthday is also what is celebrated as Earth Day. This is a fact, and it's also true that when they have International Women's Day, it was originally a communist celebration, okay? This was a communist thing. And I've talked about the clear connections between Marxism and feminism and environmentalism. You saw me quote Rachel Ivey of Deep Green Resistance. And one of the things that you find, and you want to talk about conspiracies, is that the population control movement, okay, is closely aligned with major foundations, Ford, Rockefeller, these giant foundations, and they are also the ones who are funding feminism. Okay, the Ford Foundation, by the way, it's a fact, you can look it up. Robert McNamara, after he left the job as defense minister under LBJ, became president of the Ford Foundation, and he gave out grants to establish the first women's studies programs. And so these major foundations, are a huge force. Pete?
Yes, there's one thing that struck me about your presentation, and it reminded me of something that our friend Iowa Hawk once said, that journalism is about covering stories with a pillow until they stop moving. And you were talking about these various feminists, all of these books, and all the books that you brought with you, quoting these feminists actually in their own words, for reasons that we cannot explain, paid journalists have not seen fit to report those words, and when you quoted said feminists by those words on Twitter, you found yourself banned and labeled as a hate monger officially by even people like the SPLC.
Are you still banned?
Yes.
You still off Twitter?
Yeah, I am officially banned.
So my question is this a question of laziness of modern journalists, just not wanting to do the research, or is it a question of I don't want this information out there? Sort of like Hillary Clinton's statement about illegal aliens, which for some reason did not show up until the moment where the party wants her to go away.
It's not a conspiracy, it's a consensus. Like I said, you know, our friend Glenn Reynolds calls them Democrat operatives with bylines. Is that the bias within the media establishment became so clear. You know, I mean, the CNN was the Clinton news network. I mean, it was 24/7. Whatever stories promoted Clinton's agenda, that's what they were reporting. You know, and yes, that you know, I showed you this video from 2013. Okay, with Hillary Clinton praising Charlotte Bunch. You tell me those journalists at CNN, New York Times, all these people, they don't know who Charlotte Bunch is? They can't do a Google search. They can't get her books. It's all over the internet if you know what to look for. But for some reason, this was never reported as anything controversial. Charlotte Bunch is a perfectly mainstream figure. You know, and this is, they act as public relations, you know, they do public relations for these various movements. Environmentalism, save the planet, global warming, and they're not critical. You know, I was taught as a journalist, you know, our job is to ask questions. Who, what, when, where, why. You don't just, you know, just take somebody's word for this stuff. You ask the questions. You ask the questions they don't want you to ask, you know. But there's just a complete lack of objectivity, and I never claim to be objective about anything. You know, it's like asking me to be objective about the University of Alabama, you know, when they play Auburn. No, Auburn's from hell.
All right. Gentlemen of the blue shirt, we're going to take that last question, and we'll take a couple-minute break, and then we'll come back
I
to the
get
panel.
thirsty myself.
Yes.
Quick question. What do you think of Camille Paglia?
I love Camille Paglia. I used to sit across from when I worked at the Washington Times. My friend that sat on the other side, Victor Morton, the deputy national editor, is a PhD. Well, he's got a master's degree in philosophy from Notre Dame, and every time she used to have a column at Salon, and her and Ann Coulter, every time they had a column out, we had to stop and read it. It was so good, you know. But Camille Paglia, you know, she's independent. Okay, she's not. It's like Christopher Hitchens. Okay, Christopher Hitchens was a leftist, and Christopher Hitchens was an atheist. But Christopher Hitchens believed in facts. Christopher Hitchens, you know, wasn't going to let someone tell him what to think, and that's what I think annoys us all about the bias in the media, this totalitarian thought police thing. Stop telling me what to think. You give me the facts, I can make up my own mind. But don't tell me you've told me the whole story when I can go online and find out what you've left out. It makes people angry, and I think that, you know, as say, if you want more Trump, this is how you get more Trump.
All right, let's give Stacy a nice round of applause, everybody.